Hey, Buffy and TV fans, I've got a theory that we're definitely going to be talking. Yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about those naughty dancing demons, but also I have a feeling we're going to have to talk about the iconic Buffy musical episode because, yes, once more we're feeling Buffy season 6, episode 7. We have arrived at one of the biggies. And I thought Rachel would be the perfect co-host for this one. Hey, Rachel.
Welcome. Hello. I have a theory. Some kid is dreaming, and we're all stuck inside this wacky Broadway nightmare.
Yeah, and bunnies are the worst things ever. Yeah, bunny phobia. So, yeah. So, yeah, we finally arrived at probably one of the most, if not the most famous Buffy episode, because this is one of those episodes where it sort of breaks through to pop culture, even if you're not a fan of the show. Like, even if you've not seen any episodes of Buffy, I think a lot of people, especially at the time and in the surrounding years, would have heard of this one. And Channel 4 in the UK, I think it was Channel 4, but they did like this 2-part list where it was like top 100 musicals, and I always respect. I mean, it's a great thing to watch anyway. You can probably find it on YouTube. But yeah, they actually had the Buffy musical, and it was pretty high. So I mean, props for them of including it, because it does show great taste. But this episode originally aired on November 2001. I think it was like the 7th of November, around that.
So long ago.
Seems like a lifetime ago now. And it got about, in the Nelson viewing figures, it got about 5.44. That's, of course, on UPN, which was the network at the time. And it holds an IMDb score of 7 not 7, but wrong way around, 9.7.
9.7.
Absolutely.
That is high for IMDb.
For IMDb especially. And yeah. You can understand why this episode would get that sort of score. Directed and written by Joss Whedon. No surprise, he was always going to direct an episode this epic and big. And I know how he's taught, even though at the time this was seen as quite a risky episode. One thing he did say is, you know, to him, it always made sense that Buffy would do a musical episode because a lot of the humor and the hijinks, it always seems quite, you know, operatic. Sunnydale residents find themselves bursting into song and flame when a Lord of the Dance style demon, Sweet, played by Hinton Battle, attempts to make Dawn his bride. And we were saying this on off air, but one fact about this episode is Hinton Battle was a real life Riverdance guy and a very talented dancer, choreographer, because I looked into some of his other credits. Dreamgirls, the big Oscar nominated movie, which makes sense, he was involved in that. He also in a couple of other TV. He was in one episode of Quantum Leap. He played the cat in a TV movie version of Red Dwarf. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes.
Or you did know.
Yeah, I did know it was him. Yeah. I'd forgotten that when we were mentioning Red Dwarf, but I do remember that he played Cat. Actually, you know what? That's not a bad casting for the character of Cat. It's just a pity that the US Red Dwarf was terrible.
He is very good in this episode. Very talented guy.
Yes, he's fantastic.
So my first question before we start to get into things is, what's your early memories of watching this episode, and what did you think at the time when you heard they were doing a music episode? Were you excited? Were you a bit apprehensive? Or?
Well, I've talked about this before because I watched Buffy all over the place, all out of sync and out of whack. I actually knew about the musical episode long before I ever even watched season 6. It was just something, because like you said, it became such a big pop culture thing that people just knew about it. So I knew there was a Buffy musical. I remember catching on TV, going through the motions, because I never forgot the visual of Buffy doing the "nothing seems to penetrate my steak heart." You know, I always remember that. And then a friend of mine, when I was living in a group house briefly when I was 17, a friend of mine had the soundtrack on CD. because we are old and we had physical media.
There you
And
go.
so I actually got to know the soundtrack before I ever saw the musical.
Nice.
So I knew every word to every song. I loved all the songs, but I had no context and I had no, way of knowing how these songs fit into the musical. So when I finally sat down and watched all of season 6, I was really looking forward to the musical. And so when it came on, I could sing along and I was finally able to get the context and see the story. And I thought it was such a great story, such a great premise. And what I really love about the Buffy musical is it takes the basis of what is for most musicals. So there is this thing in musicals, the way that musicals work is you talk until the emotions get too big for you to talk, and then you sing. And then you sing until the emotions get too big for you to sing, and then you dance. And so I love that this musical took the next logical step, which was, and then you dance until your emotions get too big, and then you burst into flame. I thought it's the only musical I've ever seen, the only TV musical I've ever seen that has actually managed to slide into like the actual musical genre. Like every other musical in TV, there's some other reason that they're singing. It's like, for example, like in Grey's Anatomy, one of the characters is undergoing a very traumatic accident, so she imagines everyone singing. In Scrubs, a woman has a brain tumor, so she sees everyone singing, but they're not actually singing. So what I love about the Buffy musical is they are really singing. The music is all happening to them. It's not, like, oh, we're just going to cut away and sing, but the characters aren't going to be aware of it. I love that they're aware that they're singing. I love that they have reactions to their singing. Like, I always loved like Spike rolling his eyes as he starts to sing "Rest in Peace" because he doesn't want to sing. Yeah, so things like that. So I actually knew the musical score and the music long before I ever saw the episode. But once I got to see the episode, oh yeah, it was fantastic. And I don't know if I've mentioned this. I probably have in one of the many videos we've done together, but I am a musical theater nerd. I love musical theater. I have seen many musicals. I've seen some musicals several times because I love them so much. I adore musical theater. I adore musical movies. I love to sing. I love to dance. I'm not very good at dancing. Singing I can get away with. Let's hope you never have to see me dance. It's very bad, but it's fun. And so this episode, it was like it was tailor-made, for me and for my just like likes and my desires. So that was really great. What about you? I'm assuming you saw it as part of your first Buffy your first Buffy watch through?
Not exactly, because as I said, like I've told this story before when we were talking about our first experiences of watching the show. Because as you know, I did come to Buffy much later than you, and so weirdly, it was like. Over here, I think it was the Sci-Fi Channel or one of the channels like that, which started showing like marathon of episodes. Stumbled upon a couple one day and sort of put them on. It just so happened, weirdly, bizarrely, then the first one I watched was the one I think before the musical episode all the way.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then naturally that led into the musical, and I think that's the problem. If you watch this episode without seeing the show first, like before this, or at least a good amount of the show, you probably are going to struggle a bit first time around with it, because it's all funny going back to what Whedon says. Like, he definitely has a point. I can understand why he would say that, but at the same time, doing a musical episode like this, it's always a big gamble, because it's a bit like how in the main show they have like monster of the week ideas, and a lot of them work really well, but there are like duds also naturally. And it's a bit of a gamble to like go for this a little bit, like if Hush is one of the best episodes of the whole show, but if that had gone the other way and not quite worked, like they just, for whatever reason, it just wasn't that good. It's almost like this, because it works as well as it does, it's gone down as a classic. But it's like if it had gone the other way and it just wasn't that good, like it could have been seen as like this big swing and a miss. You come into it as one of my first episode. And it's just that thing, because me and my mum, who I was watching with at the time, we just hadn't seen much of the show. So we hadn't really got used to the humor and the dialogue and the
Yeah.
kind of show it was. Because like you're saying, you're right, I didn't think of that, but because Buffy is such a self-aware show, and it's almost putting like ironic little beat like twists on things like this, you're right, it is sort of a little bit of a new twist in many ways, the fact that they are more self-aware about than they are singing, and they shouldn't be, you know, so they are kind of breaking that fourth wall, and there is a bit of like a reason, you know, a gimmick reason, which we'll get to. But in most musicals you don't have that. It's just part of the reality of the film, and you just kind of accept it, especially if it's a good one. But you know, it is true. But yeah, I think I struggled with the episode because it was one of the first ones I watched initially.
That's understandable. Yeah. If you don't know the show, if you don't know any of the dynamics, if you don't know the writing and the humor, yeah, you're going to come to this musical episode and be like, what is this? Like, yeah, it would be very bizarre to be one of your first episodes.
Yeah, because one of the things I really like about the episode is how it's so, regardless of what you think about ongoing storylines, it does what a great Monster of the Week or gimmick episode should do, where the actual gimmick of the episode they pull off and it's really good to watch, but also they work it around the ongoing storylines and it ties into the ongoing storylines, and you know, they sort of use it for character development as well, and growing the storylines, which is what these kind of gimmick episodes should do, really. So that's one thing I really like, and how well the premise works. I like them. They don't try and over explain like the reason for all this stuff, you know. I really liked it. It's a simple reason, but it works. It sort of makes sense. Over time you watch it more, and second time around, okay, this is starting to get a bit better for me. It's starting to drive a bit more. And then just over time I'll watch it more, and it, you know, it is one of the classics. I'm not going to say it's the best episode ever, like a lot of people do, which I understand, but it is up there. Like I probably would have it in my top 5 or 6, something like that, you know, comfortably.
I don't think it's the best Buffy episode ever, but I do think it is the best musical episode of any TV show. And I've seen quite a few other shows that have tried to do musical episodes. Sometimes it works. I know you're going to roll your eyes at this, but it's true. The Scrubs musical is actually really good. For similar reasons to the Buffy musical, and I'll talk about that in a sec. But like Grey's Anatomy did a musical, and that was just crap. Like it didn't work. It wasn't good. It was really weird, and they really only had like 2 actors singing, so it was like, okay, where's the rest of the cast? Riverdale would do a musical episode every single season, and they were completely crap. The odd thing about Riverdale is until season 7, they didn't do original musicals. They would pick an existing musical and then work the songs into the episode. So they did one with Carrie the musical, they did one with Heathers, they did one with Hedwig, I can't remember his name, Hedwig and the Angry something or the other. Anyway,
yeah, because that's the one.
Film.
Yeah.
So until season 7, when they actually did do a musical that was a new one, they would always do something different. But the Buffy musical and the Scrubs musical, they're the only 2 musicals I've come across where songs were written specifically for the musical. They didn't use pre-existing songs. See, almost every other musical I've seen uses pre-existing music. So like Grey's Anatomy, they just sing a bunch of songs that were already used in the show, like Chasing Cars and stuff, you know? Whereas the Scrubs musical and the Buffy musical, they both write songs that are tailored to the characters and to the situations. So like you said, the Buffy musical, even though it is a Monster of the Week episode, it has ties to every single storyline that's going on in season 6. You know, Buffy and Spike's, like the start of their relationship, Willow and Tara, Giles contemplating leaving, you know, Dawn's feelings of abandonment. These are all things that were already present in the show. The musical's just using the music to explore them. And the Scrubs musical does a very similar thing, where it takes situations that are already happening in the show and then writes the music around those experiences and those events. And I think that's what makes the Buffy musical so great. Like I don't like praising Joss Whedon too much these days, because we all know what a crap human being he is, but I don't think you can't deny that he is a very talented man. Very, very talented, extremely creative. And the fact that he wrote all of these songs himself is just insane and really amazing. And I love how every song is tailored specifically to the character. So the songs sound different, you know. So for example, Tara gets a beautiful, soft love ballad, you know, because she's a soft, beautiful character, whereas Spike gets an angsty rock and roll number because he's Spike and he's angsty, you know, and Giles gets a very mellow maudlin, like I wish I could stay. And it's just, the songs are so brilliantly tailored to the characters that it almost doesn't feel odd when they start singing, because they're singing in a way that if this were a musical world, this is how they would sing. So Spike would sing a rock song. Xander and Anya would do a kitschy little, you know, 30s, 40s dance. It just, everything suits the characters so well. And, you know, they're all really pretty good singers. You know, I mean, we already knew that James Masters and Amber Benson could sing, but Tony Head, Emma Caulfield was so good. Sarah herself, her voice, I mean, you can tell she's not a trained singer, but her voice is still lovely to listen to. I know that Allison didn't want to sing because she's not confident. And the same with Michelle. So I like that they
worked around that stuff, didn't they?
They adjusted and they worked around that stuff. You know, they gave Michelle the dance number, which I thought was really great because that's
a nice little thing.
A ballet dancer. Yeah. And I just think that it all just works so well.
Cool.
Yeah, no, Michelle has a ballet dance background, so that next time you watch her dancing with the puppets, you can see that she
is
moves
good
very
in
naturally.
That scene. Yeah, it's the gold standard, and I mean, it's as I said, rewatches, and over time, the more you rewatch it, and I think just sometimes when something like this is just so memorable and so feel good and so well done. You know, in the past, when I've been at uni, when I've been having a bad day, I'll put this episode up because it lifts my spirits, and you know, it's a good one. Sometimes before I go to bed, or whatever the case may be, I'll put it on because it's such an uplifting, such a powerful, you know, TV. Near the hour, because they give it a bit longer. It's actually 50 minutes.
Yes, it's 8.
Which I like.
Yeah, I thought it was 8, but no, it's actually 50. Yeah, it is longer, which is fantastic. I love that.
Star Trek, I've said to you, Strange New Worlds, which is my favourite Trek show, they did a musical episode in season 2, and again that was seen as by some Trek fans as a bit, okay, what are they doing here? This doesn't quite feel like Star Trek, but you know, that one worked pretty well. I mean, it's not on a par with this, but it's still pretty solid, and there's still, again, I think they do quite a good job of what we're saying, working within the existing storylines. And, you know, there are some standout performances in that, pretty solid songs as well. So that one, sometimes it depends what you call musical, because weirdly, Fringe has an episode which technically is classed as a musical one. And that one I remember quite enjoying. I mean, as you know, I'm a big Fringe fan, one of my favorite shows maybe, but that one, I think there was some quite nice songs and they sort of worked it in quite naturally, so that one was quite good. Even though I love the show, the other big example is the Daria one. I don't really like that episode. I mean, none of the singing is particularly good. The songs are a bit repetitive. It's one of, I mean, I love Daria, so I still enjoy watching it, but no, it's not a standout musical episode.
They did a musical on The Flash, and that one was really weird too, where they kind of, it was a crossover episode where Barry and Supergirl from the Supergirl TV show get stuck in this weird, like 1940s old-timey thing. And yeah, again, it's not, they do have original songs for that one, but they're not great. And you kind of get the feeling that the only reason they did the episode was because the actors who play Supergirl and Barry came from Glee. So they have singing backgrounds. So I think they just wanted to do an episode that's like, hey, look, our actors can sing. And so they just did this very odd musical that just kind of comes out of nowhere. I really just love this one and the Scrubs musical, because like I said, they're the only two that I feel really work as musicals and really took the time to work the musical around their characters, as opposed to just saying, let's just grab a bunch of songs and just have our characters sing them. To music in TV shows and movies, there is a term called diegetic versus non-diegetic music. So diegetic music is music that plays and the character is listening to it. So a character listening to a radio, a band playing, that's diegetic music. Non-diegetic music is the type of music you hear over the top of like montages and things like that. Now, for most musicals, the music is non-diegetic. The characters don't actually realize that they're singing. You know, they do their song and then they go along as if nothing happened. What I love about Buffy is the music is all diegetic. Every single person is always aware that they're singing, always aware of what's going on. And I think that was such a clever twist on the musical to make the characters aware that they're in a musical, you know, and that premise I thought just really, really fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a great point, and I think a lot of what we're saying is why this is such a standout musical, and it just says something because, like I said, it does cross over into pop culture. There's just certain episodes of Buffy that do that, and even if you've never seen any of the show, a lot of people are still going to know the musical, and it. Just the fact that it influenced probably that Star Trek, them wanting to do that. Such a well-directed, written episode. And it just says something, like we said, it works out perfectly. Then the majority of the cast at least are, I mean, there's a couple, 2, 3 that are really strong. You know, I would say the top 3, like just for their vocals, is Masters, because he was in a band, and I think, you know, that's a standout punk rock, like you said, it fits his character. But obviously Anthony Stewart Head, beautiful, amazing voice, tells a good story, like his songs, obviously big part of the episode. And Amber Benson, I think, has an absolute knockout voice,
beautiful voice. Under Your Spell is gorgeous.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, we're going to talk about favorite or least favorite, but that song gets overlooked. But, you know, I do think it's a beautiful Willow and Tara moment, and like their chemistry in that scene is so good. And yeah, it's a beautiful song. I love that it, you know, sort of fades out as she's like really getting into like the end bit, you know, that's, there's certain transitions like that in the episode, which I think are really clever. And you get the whole, like, I don't know how old they think Dawn is when they're trying to talk around the idea of Willow.
15. I think she's supposed to be 15, 16, but Dawn is also played as being a lot younger than she really is and a lot more sheltered. But, you know, I do love that. I bet they're not even studying. What? Willow and Tara, did you see the way they were with each other? The get a room yesterday? I bet they're singing. They're probably singing right now. You know, it's great.
So good. And I think that's what makes the episode really tick as well. The fact that you've got the classic witty Buffy type dialogue and gags and all the quirky character stuff and, you know, some great set pieces. So it all...
I also really love, and we were talking a little bit about this before we came on camera, but I love that you don't just see the main characters affected, you see other characters affected. You know, like you see there's the parking lot lady, there's the mustard man, there's the guys who are doing the chimney sweep dance behind, you know, Xander, Anya, and Giles when they're talking and they're all like behind them doing woo. You know, like I love that it's not just centered to our characters, which a lot of musicals are. A lot of musicals will just center on the main characters, but I love that they show that, no, this is affecting all of Sunnydale, and you get those fun little tunes, you know, hey, I'm not wearing underwear, you know, stuff like that. It's just so great.
And that's great. I mean, it's funny stuff, but also it does make sense because they're going about their day-to-day life, and you got the whole dry cleaning with, and you got the mustard out, and it's it's like the way they do it. It's like watching a musical, like a film musical. That's what I love about. They really go to town in this episode.
Yeah, well, they filmed this in a wider aspect. When you watch it, it's in a movie aspect. It's not in the usual 16:9. I think it's in 21:3 or something. So it's a bigger screen. If you watch it carefully, you'll notice that they've saturated the episode much more than the episode before. So the colors are brighter, everything's bigger. And if you look at the costuming in the episode, even the costuming is slightly different to other costuming. I mean, the characters still look like themselves, but they're all wearing brighter colors. If you look at the dresses that Willow and Tara are wearing, those are definitely more like, they look more a bit more costumey. Xander and Anya, like I love Anya's little slippers with the fluffy toes, you know, and the very 1930s set that she's wearing. Like they really put so much effort into this episode to really make it feel like it is a big musical. It's oversaturated, it's in wider screen, the costumes are bigger, everything's much more exaggerated, and I love that because it really immerses you in the world of the musical and everything. So it was really, really great
Easter egg of the fact that you've got David Fury, one of the writers, as like the mustard guy, and also Marty Knox. And as I said, with grey hair, I think they've greyed up her hair,
looking a bit older than usual,
a little bit older than she would have been at the time. But yeah, I love her whole song, and the fact it's in the background and they're cutting in and out as Giles and Xander and Anna are having their banter back.
It's fantastic.
It's it's so well done.
I love, and even outside of the musical, okay, so the mustard guy, fantastic. But if we go to season 7 and the episode Selfless, which centers around Anya, we have a bonus song in that episode, I'll Be His Missus. But when Anya goes to close her door, you can hear singing coming from outside going, how could you serve mustard? So it's like, it's such a great little callback, and I love things like that.
Yeah, I really love that. Yeah, because I was watching that episode not long ago. Even the ones that aren't so great, they sort of work around or find a way to work them in, which is cool. And like you said, incorporating like Michelle Trachtenberg's ballet background was really cool, because I do like that little small scene. That's a cool little performance.
I do too. That little dance with her and the puppets, very creepy but very well choreographed. I do like that one.
Well, the puppets, I'll just mention this, and I don't know if this is something you might not. They are creepy, right? Aren't they? Really freaky. I quite like when Spike tries to like floor one of them and he just skips away. It's like,
strong.
Yeah,
someday he'll be a real boy.
Yeah. But yeah, there was like a children's entertainer from Manchester called Side Bottom. If you've ever, I don't know if you've heard of it. No, it's very much a UK thing. I actually saw him at a festival. He was awesome. Like the guy behind him passed away some years ago, but weirdly, there's a movie called Frank with Michael Fassbender and Maggie Gyllenhaal, and that's partly about someone who wants to become.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, well, that's linked to this guy because the main character in this wants to be like him, but their wooden faces and the way they sort of hop
the uncanny valley.
Yeah,
they're almost like ventriloquist dummies come to life, and the fact that just those big staring eyes and the face, I don't like them. They freak me out, man. They're very creepy.
Sarah Michelle Gellar gets criticized a lot because people think she just isn't very good at singing. I mean, obviously she's not the best. She's somewhere in the middle, but I think she does fine.
She can carry a tune.
Her songs and the stories of them work so well. I don't think it really matters. I think it's that thing of, as long as it's a decent enough or good song and the storyline is working within the song and what it's doing for the characters, I think she's fine. Like, obviously she's nowhere near the best, but like, I mean, fair enough. Alison Hannigan knew her limitation, so she dropped out and had that one. This line's mostly filler, but
I love that line. I think it's such a great line that I think this line's mostly filler. That is such a good reference to the way songs are written and how you do shove in lines that are just filler. But I think Sarah. Brilliant. Okay, first of all, she wasn't actually going to sing. Originally, they were going to find someone to dub her, and then she read the songs, and she said, no one is going to sing these except for me. These are so emotional. These are so heart-rendering. I need to do this. But look, when you listen to Sarah, like I said earlier, you can tell she's not a trained singer. You can tell that she's not at the level of Amber, Benson or Tony Head, but she's on key, she's in tune, there are no flat notes in her singing. A lot of the notes that she sustains, you can hear that she's properly sustaining them. I mean, she might be a little bit thin, and I reckon if you got Sarah some vocal training, her voice could probably be something. Like, she can definitely sing. You wouldn't sneer at her. Like, she could definitely go down and do like karaoke at the local pub and people would cheer her, like, she's not bad. She's just not at the level of the others. But I also think the songs that they give her, she doesn't need to be, like I'm Under Your Spell clearly has some big notes where Amber has to, reach for those notes. But, going through the motions, something to sing about, they Walk Through the Fire. The tunes are not to diminish Joss, but the tunes are very simple. They're very easy to sing. And I think she does a great job. And I also think Sarah, she puts emotion into the voice. So it's not always just about having a perfect voice, especially in musicals, because you're trying to convey an emotion. And I think, you hear it coming through, especially in Something to Sing About. I think she really conveys Buffy's desperateness and trying to feel something. Give me something to sing about. And I think she's actually really good. So anyone who pisses on Sarah, it's like, dudes, how about you record yourself singing and then we'll see who measures up, okay?
You have to give her all the credit in the world for actually going ahead and putting herself but it's not just the song, because like we said, certain songs, depending on the style of song, if it's the sort of song where it is you're in a way saying the lyrics more, that's where you can kind of get, because to be honest, although Sarah's not the best, I think she's probably better than Nick Brendan and
oh yeah, definitely.
And obviously Emma Crawford's quite a good singer. I mean, we see that especially in Selfless more than this, but their song works for what it is and kind of what they were going for. The physicality, and I think that's what she really put herself into doing, because the physicality of the way she's dancing and doing certain things in Walk the Fire, in the opening song, in the the big kind of medley that we get at the end. That carries a lot of what it is. She's literally in a way being the Slayer, but in these musical numbers. So I think that's where she deserves so much credit. And fair play then she didn't just take the easy way out and just did it. And much better, I think. I agree with you. I think she's much better than people give her credit for. Some of the production in this episode and some of the costumes, just things like that, things which in other episodes you might not notice so much, but just because it is, one thing I really like, which I only thought about coming into this review, but I love the fact that Sweet's attire turns from blue to red. It's almost like he's becoming more devilish. Like, I love that.
Love it.
Yeah, so that's really cool. But there's lots of good, like, really choreography, which we can talk about when we get to the songs. But yeah, across the board, it's just a really well done thing, and I can understand why it's gone down as a classical. And I'm pretty sure musical fans who wouldn't necessarily always watch an episode of Buffy, there'll be people like that who love this episode. What are some of your standout songs or scenes?
One of my favorites has always been Walk Through the Fire. I think it's a great climax. I love the way all the voices come together. I love everyone harmonizing and singing. I love that bit in the middle where Sweet is singing as Buffy's singing as well. And then it just has that great culmination of Buffy just walking up to the bronze and kicking the door in. And then that beautiful, like, showtime. And it's it's just such a great, great moment. That one's fantastic. I love I'll Never Tell. And one of the reasons I love I'll Never Tell is I'll do a little bit of my lore. Whenever I used to have house parties back in my early 20s, I had this particular group of friends that we would have a lot of house parties. Every single house party, my best friend and I would get drunk, and then the two of us would perform I'll Never Tell. She would be Xander and I would be Anya, and we would do the whole dance and everything. So I have a soft spot for that one. Under Your Spell, obviously, is beautiful. I mean, Willow and Tara are not in the best place at this point, but that song itself is just gorgeous. I love singing it. Amber Benson has got an absolutely gorgeous voice, and I love that one. And I really love, I really love I've Got a Theory, because I love, first of all, I love all the different callbacks to, I've got a theory, some kid is dreaming, obviously that's referencing nightmares and things like that. I love that Giles's theory is actually correct. I've got a theory, but it's a demon, a dancing demon. It's like, no, you're right, Giles. That's what's going on here. And just the way they all, come together and sing and everything. And I love Xander's whole, it could be witches, some evil witches.
Yeah, he sneaks away.
Witches, they were persecuted with your good and love the earth, and I'll be over here. And it's so good. And of course, Anya's bunnies thing. So those are probably like my big favorites. Amazing. But I also have a real soft spot for the Standing Under Your Spell reprise that Giles and Tara sing when they're watching Buffy and Willow. And they're singing the Believe Me, I Don't Want to Go, and It'll Grieve Me Because I Love You So. I just think that's a beautiful little rendition showing both of those characters was and where they are in their headspace. And
looking down on Willow and Buffy as well.
Looking
That's
down,
really great.
yeah,
Like symmetry.
yeah, and the harmonies. Oh, the harmonies in that song are just so beautiful because both Tony and Amber know how to harmonize. They know how to sing, and so the way those songs just come together and the way their vocals blend, oh, it's beautiful. And of course, I love Sweet Song. What You Feel. That is a great song. You know, it's kind of like a jazzy number, and I love the way he's dancing around. And poor Dawn's all just like, what is going on here? So, I mean, you know what? For the most part, I love all the music, all the songs in this musical. I mean, for obvious reasons, I don't love Rest in Peace that much, but that's more to do with the character than it has to do with the song. The song itself is a great song. It's a banger, but you know, the character pisses me off. So
okay, yeah. I get that, and I get your reasons. I mean, obviously, because I can be objective, and say this season isn't Spike's greatest season overall, but I do. In this episode, obviously, Masters, who was in a band at the time, he's very charismatic. He performs his bits very well, and there's some fun moments with him, like you said, breaking, where he's like, "Bugger this, I'm not going to do the song with the."
That one's fun. Yeah, I do like that.
But I do like that song, and I do like the performances, and again, some good choreography in the graveyard. I like the way they're cutting around like the different monsters, and they do that obviously a bit with Sarah's song at the start. So some great choreography there. And that's the great thing about doing a musical in Buffy is you can substitute certain things that you would have in other musicals, but just make it an object then you associate with Buffy, or something you associate, but you just, in a way, you don't really break what you're doing in other musical. It's just you're changing up the objects or the settings, and I think that stuff.
Yeah.
And some of the choreography, because like Walk Through the Fire, which personally probably is my favorite song, just because of what an important song is. There you go, high five. But just so, I mean, I love the choreography of that, the timing of like the fire truck, and it's about fire, like just moving.
That is a fantastic shot.
And the whole thing with like Spike climbing over the fence, like again, that's something that's
the dead end. Brilliant.
When he's denying to himself, then he doesn't care. It's like, oh well, I better help her out. It's just like,
I hope she dies. I hope she fries. I'm free if that bitch dies. I better help her out. It's like, okay, Spike. Okay.
Yeah, and the bit over the fence, that is almost like a thing you would see in like West Side Story or something, but it's sort of in a Buffy, and it's just. That's what I like, the whole package. I mean, that is my favorite song because of a lot of the choreography and the way they work in objects and things into the natural thing. And it's just at a really pinnacle point of the episode where Buffy has gone alone and literally walking through the fire as she's singing, and her friends then have to make a decision. Are they going to risk letting her go alone, or are they going to come together and as a family, which is a big thing in the show. But I mean, it says something that there's definitely songs that if you're comparing them, I mean, personally, my least favorite song, but it's a song which I don't even hate, probably is the On the Sandal one. I think objectively, for me, that is the weakest probably. And I mean, you can tell they're going for the whole musical because, fuck me, those pajamas from Santa, Jesus, they were loud. I mean, you can definitely, if that was any other episode, I think they wouldn't have had that choice be so loud. But yeah, his pajamas was scary. Him coming out of that bed in those pajamas, I tell you what, it's pretty freaky stuff. But that's a fun little number.
But Anya's is so cute. Anya's make up for it. The red pajamas and the fluffy toes. I understand why that one might not be your favorite, but I think there's a real cleverness to the Xander and Anya song in that their harmonies actually clash. When you hear them singing together, it deliberately sounds discordant, and I think that's really cool because it's showing that they're not in harmony. It's showing that things are not okay, and I know I kind of really like the whole 30s/40s kind of, swinging musical, and they do the dancing and everything. And I don't know, it's just, I find it a really fun one.
I do. Again, I think it's just the standard of the episode overall. Like it's not.
It's so high.
I can see why I still watch it and have a good time and enjoy the scene and stuff. And you're right, the fact that, because obviously Brendan is one of the weaker singers, but the fact that in a way sort of speaking the dialogue a bit more, uses the skeezy cheeses and the penis has diseases and it's
too much tried. I love it.
And just the back and forth, because it cuts into some of their thing where, again, and this is something Xander's had with also Cordelia in the past, but the whole thing about Anna not exactly thinking that he's, still hot for Buffy, but the whole thing then Buffy is an important woman in his life.
Yeah.
And I like that plays into the song, because that's something which probably is in the background, which maybe she hasn't always expressed. So I like that comes out in that song as well. I agree with you, obviously, about Under Your Spell. I mean, obviously for some people, because of the way that storyline goes, it's a bit of a sad connotation. But when you're watching
it is.
But it doesn't matter when you're watching the scene and the song. And for all the flaws with some of Willow's stuff this season, I do think some of the drama with her and her, and they have drama as well, clearly, but some of the drama with Tara and Willow, and you see their chemistry in this episode. And obviously Amber Benson's doing some great acting in this episode, but also the season in general.
I love the lead up to that song, and Tara has one of my favorite little funny lines when the guys are checking her out, and she's all like, "The boys really thought I was hot," and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm cured. I want the boys." I love the way she does that little bit, and I just think her and Willow are just really cute there.
I do like the Spike one, but I understand why you don't. But obviously, obviously,
look, it's a banger of a tune. It really is. It's a great tune.
And he's got
James Masters is a great singer. He's got a great voice. He was great. The song it definitely suits Spike. It's just like I said, I just don't like Spike, and in particular at this point in the series, I really don't like Spike. So when he starts singing, I'm just like, okay, skip.
I think earlier in the season, there's some good stuff with him and Buffy. I do think that. I think
he starts out okay. We're still coming off season 5, but some of them. And look, I don't mind. I don't love it, but I don't mind the kiss at the end of this episode, again, because it's worked into the musical angle. So it kind of like, it's taking that heightened reality, and that's why they're kissing kind of thing. So yeah. Spike in this episode is there.
Well, okay. Well, that's harsh, but okay, fair enough. I can see where you.
I know.
But I really like the scene in the alleyway in one of the previous episodes, Afterlife, which I do think is a little bit of an underrated episode, but that's a really good scene. Light in the dark, the metaphor. It's all there, Rachel. Okay, we can move on now. You've indulged me enough.
Spike debate another time.
The opening song is fun. They got like those sort of gargoyle gnome type demons that are dancing about her is really
that's
stuff.
great.
And just the way her songs all tied together. But we said, about how good Anthony Stewart Head and Amber Benson are. And I think in some ways they are the biggest characters in this episode, just because of the way we see how they're affected by their respected. In his case, he's the father figure for Buffy, and in her case, Willow, who she's worried about going down this particular path. And I think because
she discovers the memory spell, which is very bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you really feel for Tara and Amber Benson doing some really good acting, and I think also just the fact that they are at the crossroads. You have this, which is something they almost did in season 5 with Giles, but he is now considering leaving again because he's. And I know what do you think of that stuff? Because I know the reason for it is because Anthony Stewart Head wanted to spend time with his family. Yeah, what do you think?
Which is fair. I think he came to the realization where like one of his daughters actually said to him, you've been away for like half my life. And he was like, oh, crap. I understand that Tony wanted to leave. I get that. I just wish that they had written him out better because I'm sorry. I do not agree with Giles's actions here. I don't agree with him seeing his traumatized, barely holding it together Slayer just, trying to make it through the day. And he decides that the best thing to do is to just piss off. I don't think so, buddy. And I can never get over the gall that he has when he comes back at the end of a season and he literally says to Buffy, sometimes the most adult thing you can do is ask for help. And it's like, dude, homegirl was screaming for help and you just took off. So I really wish they'd come up with a better way. Kill him off or do what they did to Leo in Charmed in season 8. Just stick him in a block of ice because, I don't know, Buffy has to pay for some sins or something. Put him in a coma. Have him body swapped with someone else. There were a million ways they could have gone other than I'm going to abandon my Slayer at a time of crisis, because I don't agree with what he's saying that Buffy needs to step up and take responsibility, because I'm sorry, she's dealing with a lot. She's 20 years old. She's the Slayer. She's just come back from the dead. She's still dealing with the aftermath of her mother's death. She needs a support system, and she doesn't have one in season 6. And I mean, that's how she ends up going to Spike. So no, I don't agree with the way they wrote Giles out.
Well, I would agree with you, I think, but like, obviously, I don't always, because we don't always know the circumstances of how these things are written and the timing of it. It maybe sometimes if he decided quite close to this episode, or, well, when he finally leaves for a while, which is obviously the episode after, but like, we don't know how much time they had to write a reason. So the only other reason, if you want to be a bit generous to him, then you could, is maybe because of the stuff with Dawn. Like maybe with the previous episode, you can say it's almost that parental thing while shaking some of your responsibilities with Dawn. Maybe I think it's almost that parental figure of him, because it's almost like, well, you have to step up and be this girl's mother. Obviously, I'll support you as much as I can, but you can't keep leaving things. I mean, he definitely does come off as a bit harsh, because when he gets a little bit moody when she leaves to see Angel in a previous episode, and that's, by the way, a crossover we don't actually see, that like their actual meeting.
I know.
It's one of the rare, but which is fine. I mean, it's nice to do it a bit different sometimes.
Part of me wishes we could have seen it, but part of me is also like, maybe it's good that we didn't see it, because I don't know how they would write it in such a way that could satisfy Angel shippers. I just, sometimes it's best that we don't see things. But no, look, I mean, I get the whole, you have to be like a parent to Dawn, but it's also a big responsibility for a 20-year-old to take on a 15-year-old, like, all of a sudden she's got to be I mean, where the hell is Hank Summers? Like, if anyone should be getting responsibility, it's Hank Summers. Look, I understand what they were trying to do with the storyline. I just personally don't think that it really works, like, as a whole. I don't think this whole, because like, I really God, we're getting kind of off topic.
No, that's okay. It's on theme with the episode, so
yeah. I really hate when she comes back from seeing Angel, right? And at this point, she's been alive for what, like 2 weeks? At this point, she's been back from the dead for like 2 weeks. And she comes into the dining room and they all start piling on her. Like, what are you going to do now, Buffy? We're thinking about your plans. It's like, okay, the girl just got resurrected from the dead. She had to claw her way out of her own coffin thanks to you losers. And now you're all like piling on her. Like, you have no money. You have to have a plan. You have to do this. It's like, the poor girl is so overwhelmed. Can't she just take a little bit of time to kind of, readjust? She's been carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders for 5 years. And now she's in this state. I feel like, I mean, like a lot of fans, I feel like everyone is very harsh towards Buffy in season 6, and that she definitely deserves a better support system. But I find some of the early stuff in season 6 really hard to watch because of just what she has to go through.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think I'm mostly with you. Like, I think it's a bit like when you go back to season 3 and Buffy returning from, going away because she couldn't face up to things. It's kind of like how over time, at the time I was with Buffy, but over time I can see the other side. It's a little like this, because obviously they're not doing it to be douchey intentionally. I think it's just sometimes in that extreme situation, people don't know how to act. And obviously, it doesn't come out till the end of this episode.
Yeah.
You know, where they actually know what happened, and the fact that she wasn't.
That's a great moment, isn't it?
It is. It's a brilliant moment. And it's a great
brilliant, that moment.
So I think there's a little bit of that. People don't know how to act. So I can see, but I'm definitely sympathetic. I think they do bombard her a little too soon with this stuff, you know. Give her a bit of a while.
And you see that coming out in the Once More with Feeling, you know, her singing about going through the motions and give me something to sing about. You know, she's expressing how lost and how amiss she is, how she doesn't know what her place is anymore. She doesn't know where she's supposed to be. She's just going through the motions. And I think it's a pity that maybe they didn't hear going through the motions to really hear like how bad things are for her. Buffy's songs in Once More with Feeling are heartbreaking, and I haven't always loved Something to Sing About, but I think there's something very clever in that song, again similar to Xander and Anya's. It's written in such a way that it sounds wrong. Like when she sings I Wish I Was in Heaven, the heaven, like that is a really off note. It sounds really off, but that's deliberate to show you how out of sync she is. And so I'm talking about the music in this episode. Stupid Joss. How can such a talented person be such a dickhead? Because these songs are brilliant. They're written so well, and they work the way songs should work in a musical. You know, they explore the emotions. They cater to the individual singing talents. They have this beautiful rhythm. Every single song has its own set of chords and harmonies and everything. And I just think, I don't think there's actually a bad song in the musical.
I agree,
there are songs I like
pretty
less.
Amazing, yeah.
That's
what
amazing.
I mean. Very high standard, and I like Something to Sing About. Also, I think it is one which probably grew on me over time, especially.
Yeah, I think me too.
I think I just love the whole medley at the end, the way things are all coming together, and some of the back and forth. And I've also something about the image as well. I like the fact that Honor and Tara joining Buffy in that moment.
Yeah, I love that. She needs backup. Anya, Tara, you know, and then they just go in and they're singing, you know, whereas in a usual episode, it would be like, she needs backup, go in and fight. So again, like they're just turning things on their heads.
And I think it's intentional that it's those two who wouldn't normally necessarily be the backup. It would be other characters. And in a way, it's sort of these people who, you know, a little bit over time, Buffy's had to get to know them a bit more because they've come in from outside the group in many ways. And, you know, it's a bit like that stuff in season 5 when Tara has a birthday and Buffy and Xander don't know much about her, so they're really not sure what to get her. So I think that's quite a good intentional choice.
I hadn't thought of that. That's actually a really cool thing to notice. That it's Anya and Tara, the two that don't usually go into back her up. That's cool.
Question about the very ending, because Giles, I have a theory as well, but I'll test it out on Rachel. Do you think Xander's telling the truth, or do you think he's covering for Dawn? Because I read it as he's covering for Dawn.
Always used to think that he was covering for Dawn, because why would Xander summon a demon? That doesn't make any sense. Whereas Dawn accidentally doing it, picking up a necklace and accidentally making some longing wish about how she wishes everyone would say something, then But, however, Selfless throws that into question. And that annoys me, because I don't know if you remember, but in Selfless, just before Anya starts to sing, you see Xander and he's on his recliner and you can actually see the talisman in his hand he's mumbling to himself, I just want a happy ending. So they actually kind of confirmed that it was Xander and Selfless, which I don't like. I actually would have preferred for it to be open-ended so you could decide. And my decision was that he was covering for Dawn. What I'm assuming you were in the same similar boat?
Yeah, but I didn't realize that detail. Like, I didn't notice the talisman. I remember the line, but I sort of thought, okay, he's just daydreaming to
I'm pretty sure if you look at his hand, you can see that he's holding.
I mean, that's quite clever, obviously, but I can also see it's a bit frustrating. But, you know. It
almost feels like they did it to make sure that you knew for certain, you know,
100%.
because there was so much back and forth. So it's almost like they put that in to say, it's Xander 100%, which I personally wish they'd left up in the air.
Well, I think regardless of how you feel about them retconning it a bit in Selfless, because, you know, whatever, it's like sometimes that stuff doesn't always matter. But I think regardless of that, I think it's like you're saying, it's a bit more less believable than it would be Xander, you know, for the reason you're saying. Whereas I do quite like the idea that he's looking out for Dawn, so he actually takes the responsibility.
Me too.
Because
I
mean, because Michelle Trachtenberg is so vulnerable and so good in this episode. Once again, obviously Dawn had her critics, but I mean, Michelle Trachtenberg just brought that character to life so well. And
I've become a huge Dawn defender. I didn't used to like her because I used to look at her from like the older sister point of view, so it was like, oh, piss off. But no, I'm such a big Dawn defender, and her in this episode, I think she's great.
Really grew on. It's a small nitpick because it doesn't really affect the episode, but like, I think maybe that just makes it feel that they made it Xander just to have it be a twist. Because obviously if it was Dawn, you'd be like, okay, that's not really surprising. Maybe they just threw a little twist.
Yeah, and maybe also like kind of an easy way to get out of the whole, you know, child bride queen deal. You know, like if we just say it's someone else,
which is, you know,
plus we get the hilarious. Does that mean that I have to be your queen? It's tempting, but we'll waive that.
We'll waive that. This stuff. That's fair. You know, like Sweet's a pretty happening guy. I can understand why he backed out of that arrangement.
No one wants Xander for their queen.
No, probably not, to be fair. He has other good qualities, but yeah.
And I say that with all the love for Xander in my heart. I
want
Xander as their queen.
Not the queen, but I don't know. It maybe stands out that they were going for a little bit of a twist. You know, maybe he was naive and didn't know exactly what he was doing. He's obviously not up on the magic. We see later in the season that he's having doubts about the and we know he is anyway, because you see that in some of the early episodes this season. That's the only way you could read it, is them because he's having doubts, is that maybe that's why he does it.
And that's what he kind of gives an excuse anyway, doesn't he? He's all like, you know, I just wanted to know that we would work out, get a happy ending. So yeah, but you know what? If it was Xander, he's got quite a few deaths on his head now, man, because Sweet killed quite a few people in Sunnydale.
That's the people.
Yikes. Yeah.
Well, that's the brilliant thing. You forget about, like, because I mentioned it, I think, in the plot setup, that people do actually burn and die, like you sort of forget about that because it's such an upbeat, uplifting.
Because you're having so much fun, yeah,
it's such a fun episode. But yeah, you do forget about that, so that's really cool. But the ending all works very well. I think that is a little bit of a nitpick. Probably right. Selfless maybe made a mistake by confirming it one way or the other, because at least give people the choice whether they believe it's Dawn or Xander.
Yeah, and that's what I think they should have done. They should have left it open-ended. So if you wanted to believe it was Xander, you could. And if you wanted to believe it was Dawn, you could do that. Or if you wanted to believe it was some random person and Dawn just happened to pick up the talisman, you can do that too. There's quite a few ways it could have gone if they didn't decide to confirm it in Selfless. But I think that's the only real small issue with this episode. Otherwise, I think it's pretty good. You know, it's got a really good pace, moves really well. It brings together themes from the season. So it's not like it's just some sort of standalone episode where we're just going to go off and have a monster of the week. Like I said, everyone's issues are still here. Willow and Tara, Spike and Buffy starting, Giles, you know, that's fantastic. And you know, this cast has such great chemistry. So you just know that they were going to do great in a musical where we get some really great, you know, ensembles. And that's what we got. You know, we got some really great ensemble scenes, you know, which are always fun. It's always fun when we have the whole gang together and to see them all together, all singing and everything. I don't know. It's a really good time.
And what a great guest star as well, Hinton Battle. I mean, what a great
Battle was brilliant.
You can see why he's gone on to be in things like Dreamgirls and some other like things, and he's done choreography for like film and TV as well. So very talented guy. RIP, because he did die a couple of years ago, sadly. But yeah, great part of this episode, great casting. So yeah, overall, because like people always debate, you know, sometimes people rag on it just because people always go to the music episode as like if not the best, one of their favorites. And you're always going to have these question marks. Is it overrated? But because it had that thing of it actually started off where, I'm not used to this show, so I'm not sure if this is working. From watching it more, I think that's the sign of a good episode, where it just sort of gets better over more viewings and has now stood up over a lot of years, and the same for you. So that's always a testament to a really good episode. So
and look, sometimes people just don't like musicals, and that's fine. They're not for everyone. My sister, for example, she hates musicals. She's hilarious. I'm like, why do you hate musicals? She's like, there's too much singing. I'm like, dude, that is literally the point. What is wrong with you? But not everyone likes musicals, and I've come across Buffy fans who are like, look, we can appreciate technically what it is, but we don't like musicals, and we didn't come to this show for a musical. And I'm like, that's fine. It's not for everyone, but I don't think there's any denying how brilliant this episode is. And and if you know a bit about musicals, and if you know a bit about music, and you know a little bit about how songs are composed or how harmonies works and things like that, there's a lot of depth in this musical that you can really explore. I mean, we've been talking about it for like an hour now. I think this is like, of all the episode reviews we've done, I think this is probably the most in-depth one we've gotten into. Because and I think there's a reason, but it's often listed as the best TV musical episode. And like I said, it is my favorite. I think the only one that comes close to it is the Scrubs musical. Every other musical I've seen has just been like, this really doesn't work with your show. But Buffy knew, they just knew how to weaponize this. And how to use it and incorporate it. And it's fantastic. I know that you're not keen on Scrubs, and that's fine. I've given up on trying to get you to watch it, but I do think you should watch the musical episode just to see what you think of it. Just give it a go, because it is very fun.
It's funny you say that, because I was going to say a similar thing back at you about the Star Trek one, because
well, why don't we do that as a gift to each other? I'll watch the Star Trek one, you watch the Scrubs one.
Well, absolutely, because it's similar to what I'm saying. I mean, obviously, there's things you won't get, because, again, a bit like this, it's to do with ongoing storylines a little. But, I think as a standalone episode, if you get into some of the music and songs and performances, you might enjoy that, because there are some... And likewise, it's possible, because even though I don't like Scrubs as a show, I'm sure there's still going to be episodes that I do like, randomly.
Yeah, and I think the musical will be one, because it's so much fun, and they write original songs that really suit the characters, that, like, even if you don't know the characters, you can kind of tell, oh yeah, this has been written to kind of suit you. Like, for example, there's this one character, Dr. Cox, who does a lot of like really fast speaking at you. So they actually write him a song where he actually takes someone's oxygen mask, does a big breath, and then just goes off on this massive tangent. So things like that are really fun. So we'll do that as a swap at some point. I will watch the Star Trek musical, and you watch the Scrubs musical.
It's the gold standard, and then there's probably some good ones that are a little bit further down, but still for what they are, and it does say something.
And quickly before we go, I just want to re-mention, I love how they rework the theme song. So the theme song is not your usual, guitar riffs. They rework it so that it's like this whimsical musical, intro. And of course, the Gurog monster sings.
There you go. That's perfect.
And that's fantastic.
I always love when they change him up for oh, I'm so sad at the end of
or the Christmas episode where he wears a hat. Yeah,
it's brilliant. That's so clever. I love stuff like that. So that's great stuff. So before we round up, because we are pretty positive, and I'm sure most people here, if you're watching this review, probably have seen it. So if not, go and watch it, because regardless of whether you like Buffy as a show or not, I think this episode may still work for you. You may still get some good things out of it. It's a very entertaining, nearly, as I said, 50 minutes of TV, and the 50-minute just flies by really for me. Like, I'm just having so much fun with the episode. Probably will do, like I said to you earlier, a bonus video at some point where I will rank all the songs in order. So
that'll be a fun one.
You can let me know how much. Well, I think you know which is going to be my bottom, which obviously you disagree with, but I don't dislike that song. It's just technically for me, it's. And I'm not including like we said off air, the little interlude. I think
the little ones.
I like that scene with Dawn, and it's cool they used her ballet background, which is cool. And like again, Michelle Trachtenberg just reacting to the stuff around her is really good stuff. What's your scene of the episode?
I do love when the demons come out in Buffy's first song and they're dancing around her, and the whole, she's not even half the girl she. Ow. And then, when the guy pops out and is all like, how can I repay? And she's just like, whatever. I think that scene, because it just so perfectly sums up where Buffy is in her head right now. There's no passion, there's no excitement, there's no going out on the hunt. She is just going through the motions. So that, and not so much a scene, but a shot that we talked about before. I don't think there's a more epic shot. Well, I mean, there are probably a few, but one of the most epic shots in Buffy is walk through the fire with the fire engines behind them and the Scoobies, storming off to walk through the fire. And it's just such a great freaking shot. It's brilliant. So I'd go with those two. What about you?
Cool. Well, okay. So we can mention scene and song, but so I think for scene, I might go for the magic box. Not the first one, but the stuff with Tara and Giles, because I really love the thematic, the way it crosses over, and it's such a clever. And that's another thing, like you mentioned with the sweet stuff when he interjects into the Buffy walk with, like, just some of those fade-ins or interludes, which you tend to get in movies back then and not so much TV. Now TV's different, more cinematic, you do get more, but at the time you didn't so much. So I really like touches like that make it cinematic. But because of the thematic themes of that scene in the magic box, and obviously both actors doing a really great job with the singing, I'll go for that scene. The sort of interlude type thing. Obviously, the training montage stuff is really funny as well. The joke about if I hear any inspirational power ballads, that's a great line from Giles.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So, and I love the fact, again, very meta, than they actually recreate the sort of montage you might get in one of those films. That's so good. My favourite song is "Walk Through the Fire." For
we're in agreement there.
So you agree with that? Okay, so who's your MVP of the episode?
Probably Sweet, because he's the one who's bringing the fun in. I mean, look, all the characters are awesome in this episode, but they're also all exploring their issues. So there's not a lot of room for like people to actually have a lot of action and stuff in this episode. And we don't even really have a final fight, because they just kind of win by it being like, oh, Xander's the one who summoned you instead. So I think Sweet's definitely got to get it. I mean, he's the one that is bringing the bringing the fun in. And I think, first, just his entrance, when you see that guy tap dancing crazily, and then he just keeps going more and more and more, and he bursts, and then he just walks out, and it's like, now that's entertainment.
The way he's delivering those lines, he nails it.
So I think Sweet's the MVP. He's definitely up there. What about you?
Yeah. Oh my God, you've sold me. I might go for Sweet. I wasn't going to, but you do make a great point, because as enjoyable as most of the character stuff is and the performances, you are right. In some ways, it's what we have each week. Did cast Sweet so well, and the actor comes in and really nails. So I might actually go for Sweet, just for the reasons you said. I mean, runners up.
Going to go with.
Okay, I was going to go with Giles and Giles, and then runner up Tara, because I think, as I said, because of they're on the other end of like the Willow Buffy stuff, and they're both at crossroads. So I think in many ways they are the two most important characters, and because they also happen to be the best singers, and they really knock that stuff out the park. I know who you might go for, knowing you, but least valuable player.
I mean,
although
Spike,
it's not a
obviously.
terrible episode for Spike.
He's not terrible. No, he's not. He's not terrible in this episode. Rest in Peace is a much milder version of his usual crap, so I will leave that. Look, in all honesty, it's probably Willow. It is probably Willow, because Allison was not a singer, so Willow is not really given much to do this episode. She's basically just there to be sung to by Tara, and then just to be there in the group at the end. Although I meant to mention earlier, when we were talking about the Heaven reveal, I do think Allison, that one shot of Willow, when you see the horror on her face as she realizes like what she's done to her best friend, I think Allison really sells Willow's anguish in that moment. But in all honesty, I think Willow is probably the least effective cast member just this episode, just because Allison didn't want to sing. So there's not much exploration there. So as much as I would like to say Spike, he actually has an impact on the plot in this one. So it'll be Will. So personally, it's always Spike, but rationally and actually thinking about it, I would say it's Willow. What about you?
well, there's two things. First of all, you read my mind because I was going to go for Willow for obvious reasons. I mean, maybe Xander might sneak in there if he did summon the thing, because Xander, after season 2 and what you did back, you should know better.
Mess with magic, dude. Just don't do it.
You had an excuse back then. You don't really have an excuse so much anymore. You should have that. So he's probably a contender because of that. But yeah, I was going to go Willow just because technically she chickened out of having a song, and you're right, she doesn't have as much to do in this episode, and I think again that's why it's nice sometimes if you have, because of some of the heavy drama this season and some of the magic stuff, which I'm not so keen on all of that, especially in the middle of the season. But like some of the scenes where you're just cutting that out and you're just having a back and forth with her and Tara, you can still see the chemistry there and the and both actors are doing a good job. Like the scene in the bronze. I mean, obviously, but I do like the back and forth where you're seeing them flirt a little bit like the way couples do, and you get a sense of why they are together. I do.
Is that like infested roots? Are you trying to turn me on? Like, oh, God. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, objectively, because of what you're saying, it probably is with that. What would you rate the episode out of 10?
Okay, look, I'm biased because I love a good musical and I think this has done so well. But for me, this episode's a 10 out of 10. It really is. Like, I mean, I could nitpick Xander really summoned him, and we all know that I don't like Spike and he brings things down for me just in general. But no, I love Once More with Feeling. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. Love a musical. What about you?
No, that's fine. I mean, I really love it for all the reasons we've been talking about for about an hour. I'll go 9. I won't quite go the full 10 just because there's, it's certain select episodes I would go that high. Yeah. But overall, no, it's one of the very best of the show and definitely one of the most unique. I think in a way you're talking about Hush, the body for very different reasons, and then probably this one as just for like, okay, and certain things like the Wish in season 3 when they're doing certain gimmicks like that. But I think with an episode like that, even though it's really good and things, and I really like how they do it, there are obviously other shows that have done similar episodes. And obviously there's other shows that have done this, but like I think just as a unique concept and making it work as a Buffy episode and just everyone knowing them culturally. In some ways I go back to Hush because of how unique it is. Just half the episode, the characters not talking and almost like a silent movie almost, and this doing like a full musical almost, and then the body in a very different way, and some of the critical praise than that gods. So I think in some ways I think of those 3, regardless of what you would rate the episode, of being really stand out in very different ways. So, but
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm rambling a bit, but 9, that's my score. It's very, very good. Probably I'm of course doing my rankings along the way, but like without looking at my rankings, I think this is going to be at this point anyway, my 5th top episode in my top 5, 5th or 6th. That's our thoughts on what Once More with Feelings. I hope you guys enjoyed this review and maybe rewatch the episode and then come back to this if you want. But let us know what you guys think of the musical episode. Do you think it's underrated? Because we always open to this. I mean, we'll probably shun you if you say yes, but I mean, we do really. No, I'm not asking you. I'm putting it.
Oh, you're in general. Oh, okay.
Are some of your favourite songs and favourite scenes in the episode, MVP, and all the rest of it? Let us know what you guys think. But do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so. I think we've been here for an hour, and we could probably be here for another hour if we wanted to dissect every single song. But no, it's a look. If you are a musical fan, it is the episode for you. And if you're not a musical fan, it's still a really fun ep. And like I said, I just love how tailored it is to the characters, to the show. All the different tunes suit the different, characterizations and everything. And all up, I just think it's fantastic. So guess we should just say, all those secrets you've been concealing, say you're happy now, once more with feeling.
That's a great. Next time, Tabia Rossa, another big high concept season 6 episode with some fun moments, but I won't reveal too much of my thoughts on that. And actually, a cool musical way to end that episode, but I'll get to that next time. So let us know what you guys think. And yeah, I hang on, I've still got mustard on my shirt, Rachel. I need to get this damn
mustard.
I got the mustard out. There you go. It's gone.
Very good.
Have a good one, guys. Take care. Keep watching Buffy. Keep watching TV. See you later. Bye, guys.
Last night, did anybody burst into song?
Life's a show, and we all play our parts, and you can sing along.
Showtime.
The point of no return, and let it
Thought you wanted me to stay away from you. Isn't that what you sang?
Spike sing a little song? See, okay, that was disturbing.
nothing I can do. You just took my soul with you.
This is the event people will be talking about all November long. Buffy the Musical.
Where do we go?